Hi Flosstube, welcome to my channel. I'm Jessie and this is Bobo Jessie Stitches, a channel primarily about cross stitch. And how you doing? Doing all right? I am filming this today on Monday, April 1st. I know that I say I normally don't take the day off to record Flosstube videos, but I just keep seeming to take the first day of the month off. Mostly because it was the Easter week holiday this past weekend. We went out of town and visited my in-laws, and I happen to have a lot of vacation days, and so I was like, these trips back and forth usually are pretty tiring, and if I have the day to take off the Monday, why not? And so I kind of had planned on that, to give myself a little buffer day for the weekend, and we're also going to be traveling back to my in-laws who live in the hill country area of Texas, this coming weekend for the big annual solar, not annual, but for the solar eclipse that's going to have its path through Texas next Monday in a week. And so I was like, let's take the day off since I'll be traveling again for that as well. And but sadly, a week out, it is looking like our weather is not going to hold well for Texas. And I'm not above chasing weather. In Texas, the weather can be pretty different, even from one side of the city to the other. And so I was like, we'll chase the weather, but it's looking like for the entirety of the path in the state of Texas, it's not looking so good. Looks like the majority of the state is going to be under a rain threat or under a cloudy forecast. So it's a little disappointing, but we're still going to go. I have friends visiting who are flying in, and one of the things they do say about Texas, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it's going to change. And so a week out is a long time for Texas. Weather forecasts change pretty dramatically, even in a 24-hour, 48-hour period. So fingers crossed for us here. And for those people who are flying in, there's a lot of people coming to Texas for this solar eclipse. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's a longer than normal introduction into my Flosstube video. For those of you who are new, hi. For those of you who are returning, welcome in everyone. Let's sit down, grab your tea. Let's procrastinate with some Flosstube and some stitching, and let's have a good time. All right. So this is my March update. So all of my stitching that I did in the month of March, and it was again. You know what? I'm gonna just say it. I'm gonna stop saying that this was less than normal because it looks like this is my new normal. I stitched for 25 total days, and I stitched 7,497 stitches for the month of March, which to me felt low. Again, here's another month where I've been stitching less than 8,000. Historically, I normally stitch around 10,000 stitches a month. And so this seems low. Now, of course, I didn't stitch for 6 of these days, and so that's a solid amount of time not stitching. So maybe this is my new norm, and we'll accept it. Any day you stitch is a good day, and any stitching you get done is good stitching. I also changed the way I counted my stitches. I no longer count back stitching or French knots or those types of things. It's strictly X's and that's it. Is what gets counted nowadays. Most of the month was focused on my Fandom Stitching Central, which is my fandom group. We were doing a bracket challenge, and so it was based off of Moana. And so the theme for the Fandom Stitching Central this year is Disney. And so for the bracket challenge, it was Moana's. And so I created this in Canva, just in case anyone wondered. And what I did personally was a battle of the SALs. And so the 6 projects I worked on, 4 of them were SALs. And so I was like, you know what, let's focus on some SALs. Let's see what happens. And so my 4 projects for that were Castle Homecoming, the Green, by Autumn, not Autumn, that's the wrong company, by the Pumpkins, by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, Greenhouse of Oddities by Lola Crow Cross Stitch, Anna Green Gables, which is the Stitching Book Club, way behind on that one, and Creepy Village, the SAL from Lola Cross Stitch as well. And so that is what I wanted to work on. So it was SALs that I had gotten behind on, and I wanted to just kind of focus on that. And each time it was a round. I started with 4 rounds, all 4, and then wherever it went. I can let you know that Greenhouse ended up being the winner of the of the month. And so that is kind of where we are, but in no particular order. I think I'm going to be going backwards in numbers of stitches, but maybe not. I don't think that's what's happening. So first up is the Creepy Village SAL. So this is ornament number 2. So I am now in ornament number 2 for it. And what I did in, oh, by the way, I will not be inserting any, I'm not editing the videos. All project information will be in the show notes, depending on what you're watching, either below on the side, you can click on it, but that's where all of my information from my project notes will be. And I will not be inserting any before pictures while I will talk about what I've done. But if you are interested in pictures and the current pictures to see kind of what these numbers look like and how that kind of translates, please go check my Instagram out, which is boba_JessieC. That's also in the show notes below. And when I do my monthly summaries there, I do post a before picture of what it looked like at the beginning of the month or the last time that you saw it, versus how my progress is for this month. And so with Creepy Village, this is where I am. So first, I finished the first ornament, which is the carolers. Here we are there. And so I completely started the second ornament, which is right there. Sorry. I've arranged I might have to pause and rearrange myself here a little bit. There we go. So there is the second ornament. You see, I'm actually pretty far. I'm really kind of surprised myself that I didn't finish this ornament this month. But that's where we are. And this is fun. This is a lot more time consuming. So in total, I worked on this for 6 days and I stitched 1,513 stitches. That included finishing the carolers plus starting the house. Everything is called for DMC over 2/2 on 36 count Elephant Run by Fox and Rabbit, and this is the called for fabric as well. This is a lot more time consuming because it's a lot of confetti. It actually is a lot of color changes. Not confetti, but a lot of color changes in that house to give that depth of that color of the house in there. And same thing with the carolers. There's just a lot of color changes, and color changes just take more time. That's just the reality of cross stitching, as y'all are probably aware. I don't have any particular goals yet. I haven't decided what my goals are going to be for April, other than stitch and be happy. But since I'm so close to finishing the house, I would like to try to get the house finished up this month. All right, so that's the Creepy Village. Next up, again in no particular order because I just kind of apparently just threw them down on my table here, is Castle Homecoming by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I am way behind. This is a completed SAL. It finished up in a couple of months ago, so I was going to focus on it to try to get it done. And this is where we are. So this is everything is called for except for I have converted the people. I've converted the people to look like other people. So I've converted the Herald Girl to look like my friend. The knight with the s'mores has been converted to look like my husband. I did not convert the wizard. I left the wizard as is to represent everybody that has helped me along the way. And then I converted myself. I finally got that done. So for those of you who have been following along, you'll see that I converted her. I hope. What do you think? You think I picked a good color? Well, I went through a lot. We went through a few different colors to try to pick the right one. So I hope that the skin conversion match. And basically what I did is I finished this entire side and then I started working on this side. So I've gotten all the way to the edge. But in total, I worked on this for 4 days and I put in 1,154 stitches, which honestly feels low. Like I felt like I did a lot more than that, but Again, I think it's one of those like types of things where you end up working on this because there's so many color changes. Like the bricks just take a long time. There's a lot of color changes within the bricks. And same thing, there was a lot of color changes in the tree. So, but I think it's fine. You know what's really funny though? When I first stitched on this, I thought this little guy in here was like a bird, like it was an owl. That's a squirrel. That's definitely not an owl. So it's okay. But everything is called for except for that. And I'm really, really happy with it. I love the pumpkins, and they're getting ready to announce their new SAL. Um, I've gotten too much. I've gotten too much stuff. I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount of stuff I have to stitch, and I'm behind in my stitching goals. I'm not stitching 10,000 stitches like I usually stitch, but I'm gonna probably buy the SAL. Let's go. I'm gonna see what the theme is. I don't buy every pumpkin SAL. That is true. I actually don't. I do like to know what the theme is and whether or not I think it's a theme that I'm going to like. But that's where we are on Castle Homecoming. All right. Next up after that is Anna Green Gables. This is by the Stitching Book Club, but it's Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts. This is what it will look like when it is done. I was super behind on this. In fact, I think I only stitched just a little bit when the SAL was ongoing. And so then I was like, you know what? Let's get this stitched. Anne is my favorite literary character of all time. I can't believe she doesn't exist in real life. But I love her as a character. I love the way that she kind of still stands the test of time, so to speak. But I ended up really wanting to work on it, so here it is. So I ended up working on this for 4 days. I put in 1,200 and 220 stitches into this. Everything is called for 2/2 on 36 count linen. This is Chime by Picture This Plus. And basically what I did is that I finished that top banner. I put in all the leaves. I put in the date box there. And then that second block down here is what I ended up putting into it. I think this is a beautiful pattern. I think that I really enjoyed it. But I'm going to let you know, if you have not done this, the reason why it's on 36 count is because it's the fabric that I had. The called for fabric was a light yellow, was a pale yellow. And this was the only one that I had that had yellow. And so I was like, oh, I think it's going to be fine. I started it when it was still in the mystery part of it. The first banner had come out and I just kind of was stitching on it. But I would say that for me personally, that if you haven't started this and you are thinking about starting it, I would recommend a higher stitch count. If I was to do this now, knowing what I know, I would do this on a 32 count. While I don't think that a lot of the details are lost in a 36 count, I do think that it's a little bit harder to see. I think the year is a little bit harder to see. I think that like Ellen Montgomery is a little bit harder to read, and it could just be my personal taste. I might feel differently when it's completely done, but for me, I think I would have probably preferred to have done this on a 32. I think that getting a little too small, it loses a little bit of that detail. And she did call for it on a 32 count. Actually, it might have been a 28. So that's it on that one. All right. Next up is Greenhouse of Oddities. This ended up being the grand winner of the month for my bracket challenge. And so this is where it is. I'm very behind on it. And but this is what it's going to look like when it's completely done. But I'm really glad that I did it because I ended up focusing a lot on it and putting in a lot of stitches. I worked on this for 10 days and I put in 2,903 stitches. And look at that. Look how much I got done. Actually, you don't know how much I got done, but I got a lot done. So basically what ended up happening was that I ended up working on this entire side. So what I had the frame, and then I had just a little bit of like basically the brown down here at the bottom. Everything else and a little bit of the framing of the plants here, but otherwise everything in that terrarium, that room of the terrarium is new, and everything has got filled in. I finished the owl. Obviously, the picture I showed you had Darwin has the gardener. I have opted to do the alternate that she provided, which was um, George Washington Carver. I was like, this is good. Uh, because one, let's why not? And also he was apparently he was also an embroiderer. He did needlework. And so I was like, I wanted to go ahead and incorporate that. I love it. Look how beautiful that is. Look how I mean, not my stitching, but look how beautiful that pattern is. I haven't done the back stitching yet, but like the details of her patterns. Again, very, very time consuming. It goes, lots of color changes in order to create that depth of that color. But honestly, I love it. Everything is 32 as called for. Doing this 2/2 on 32 count Lugana. This is Aloe from the Other Side by Yummy Fiberlicious Fibers. Um, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm hoping I don't put this down. I'm hoping again to kind of continue on working on it and try to get it done. Mostly because while I just talked about not wanting to be tempted by the pumpkin's next annual SAL, I definitely purchased the aquarium SAL for Lola Crow Cross Stitch. So it'll be starting in April. Actually, I think the frame, whatever the framing is going to be, is going to be coming out in April in a couple of weeks. It is April. It's April 1st. But the SAL itself is going to be in May. I've already purchased it. I don't have fabric for it yet, though, so we're going to have to figure that one out soon. But yeah, I like to go ahead and keep working on that. All right, so that was it for the bracket challenge. Overall, in the bracket challenge, that accounted for quite a bit. Like 6,300 of the stitches or so, like maybe a little bit more, 6,500 of the stitches all came out of that bracket challenge. And so that was a lot of fun. I did work on 2 other projects that month that was not part of my project, part of that. This is almost a shame to just show you because I did so little. I really was just finishing a challenge in the fandom stitching in order to get the points. I was only just a couple of hundred, not even less than just a little over 100 stitches left to get to the challenge. So I did work on Cinderella Wishes Upon a Dream. This is by MCG Textiles, artwork by Thomas Kincaid. This is an out of print kit. And again, I did not work on this very much. I worked on this for one day to put in 127 stitches. So this is where it is right now. But I did work on it, so I wanted to show you. And really, it's hard. Again, you can go take a look at the before and after on Instagram. But really, I just finished. I filled in. And it was a lot of filling in right here and a lot of just some filling in down there. I've effectively completed the row. I am now getting ready to start on the other row. Um, I don't plan on putting this away in April, mostly because historically, if you are returning, but for those of you who are new, and just as a reminder for those returning, in May I do a focus May, monogamous May, if you will, and typically I've done it on Cinderella, and in order to be able to put in a lot of stitches into it. However, we are going to be going on our vacation in May. I'm not going to be carrying Cinderella with me, so I'm probably going to end up doing something else as my focus in May, rather than doing the monogamous stitching on that. So I'll probably end up keeping this out and working on this in April because I really, really want to finish this in 2024. I'm kind of really tired of not tired of stitching on it. It's beautiful. I love it, but I really want to get it done in frame so I can get it on my wall. Right? Okay. All right. And last but not least, I have continued to work on my Thai dragon. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I am half Thai, and one of the things that I have been trying to do in my middle age is reclaiming a little bit of that culture that I don't have by having been raised here in the States. My family moved here when I was 7 years old. I actually never lived in Thailand. We lived in Southeast Asia, but not in Thailand itself. And so I don't know a lot about actual Thai culture of what exists on the ground and that type of thing there. I was raised with a lot of customs and behaviors and things like that, but not necessarily, where I was like, oh, this is the mythos of the nation and the culture and stuff. I didn't have that. That's one of the things that I think it's a little, if you're lucky, your family has kept that. That was not something that my family did. That's okay. And I know no shade to my parents. Don't be mad at them, right? Like there are very good reasons for that. I am a Gen Xer, mixed race person, born in the 70s, raised here in this country in the 80s. There are reasons for the way that I was raised. We'll leave it there. But that's one of the things I've been working on. So, I was born in the year of the dragon. This is the year of the dragon, per the lunar calendar traditions, primarily Chinese, but other cultures also celebrate the zodiac of the lunar calendar. And so I wanted to stitch on a dragon. I looked and looked, could not find a Thai focused, a Thai inspired dragon. Many Chinese, but not necessarily in some. I think I found a couple that were Japanese inspired, but I couldn't find any that were but I could say for certain were Thai. And so I'm doing my own. I found some clip art available via Canva and via Adobe, and so I've kind of picked around and looked at it. And I found some clip art after doing my own research of artwork created in Thailand by Thai artists and sculptures of Thai dragons in Thailand. And I landed on one particular piece of clip art that I felt like I, as a first time ever designer of trying to convert something into a cross stitch pattern, that I thought I would be able to do by my own, but also would be reflective of the culture. And so this is what I have been working on. It is not done. I am still modifying it. The clip art I've already converted, which was this head, and it had the body kind of slinking out, and then it would go down here, and then it would just kind of be a flat out with an open end. It's basically what it looked like. Well, I wasn't really particularly keen on that, and so I have been working on adapting this to create a tail. So I went through and I looked at some of the photos of some of these dragons, and what those tails look like. And again, the head doesn't. So Thai dragons and the ones that I was looking at can have 3 heads, and some of them had a singular head. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do the singular head because it's gonna be a little easier, and this is kind of reflective of kind of the flaming that kind of happens in the head. Kind of, you think of like feathers, but not really. But like, and so the tail kind of matched that, like in a lot of these cultures and a lot of these paintings. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can kind of create the tail. So I kind of shifted it out and I tried to curve it around. The width of the tail matches the width of the body here, and so I wanted them to match. And I don't know if I'm loving this in the way that it is. As you can see, I'm adding some water. I'm having a hard time getting the arcs to look the way I want it to look. I think the center looks okay. Like, I think the center is looking the way I want it to look. So, um, so I'm going to fill in the water, to make it less, not so singularly dimensional here. And so I'm going to fill in the water. I'm trying to decide if I actually want to make it a little bit, I don't know. We'll play with that. But so I've been kind of doing that. I think I'm worried that the bottom part of here looks a little too squished, so to speak, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking about lifting up this curve here, and then possibly lowering this curve. I don't know, but I'm feeling that this looks a little long in the bottom here, but I don't know if it looks bad. Like, I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts? What do you think? Let me know what your opinion is on what this looks like. The tail is also not proportional, which bothers me a little bit. So don't be surprised if the tail looks different. I saw some other things that makes me feel like, in again, I'm just trying to reflect that feathery look that the head has that matches on the tail. And so what I'm thinking about, since I can't get it to quite be balanced, it's balanced in the center, but like right here, it's not. I'm thinking about adding some flair, some flair, some, but we'll see. So this is where we currently are in the design. Now, this is not necessarily the way to go, and I don't know if this is how designers do things. I'm guessing they don't. But I did start stitching this. As I had and I was like, you know what? I need to start stitching it so that I can see how it's coming together. Do I need to modify the chart as I go? So I did work on this for 2 days, and I put in 580 stitches, and this is where it is in stitching right now. So as you can see, I finished the head, and I've started adding the body down here. But most of my stitching, most of that color was filling in the color, getting in the gold, putting in the white, getting the eyes to look the way that I want it to look, and making sure that the feathering looks the way that I want it to look. And I think I'm okay with this. At first, I was a little bit, maybe it's a little easier to show it on here. At first, I wasn't too keen on, like, because here it's pointed, but down here it's not. But I think that, I think it's fine. Like, I think it's fine because I don't think it's intended to be that straight of a thing, right? So, because if you think about the way that the feathering is that those are going to be overlap, and it's not going to be fully on symmetrical, which is why I'm not sure how I feel about the tail needing to be fully symmetrical, other than I can see it and it bothers me. And I guess that's ultimately what matters, right? Like when you can tell that it's right, you can see it right here. It's it's just a little bit off from there. That they're actually the same. It's the exact same match design. It's just that the tail itself is such that it creates a one side being a little bit off. So, that's where we are again. 2/2 with my called for floss. I'm doing this 32 count on Do You See What I See by Yummy Fiberlicious Fiber. So that's where it is. It's gonna be a big guy. Like that, like this is not a small, not a small pattern. Um so it is what it is. I'm gonna be okay with that. I don't think I mind for, if the whole point is to stitch something that is reflective of my culture, and to be able to display something reflective of my culture, it should be solid, right? I should be able to stick it back there and you should be able to see it, right? So that's it. That is all of my stitching for the month. That I Well, that was awkward. Well, thank goodness I do actually do minimal editing. Like half my video stopped audio. um, I did do a test to see if the audio recorded again to make sure that my mic was still working. It does seem to be working. The good news is that you saw most of the stitching, so I'm just gonna probably do now. It's gonna end up being a speed up version of what I talked about last time. But that's okay. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. Technical difficulties. It's happened, right? Welcome to a technological life. So basically, where I was about to lead into is that you had seen all of my stitching for the month. I had finished it with Tie Dragon, and I was basically going into my plans for April. As I mentioned earlier, I don't really have any real plans for April. I'm just gonna kind of stitch what I fancy. It's gonna be a seaweed kind of a month. Stitch what you want when you want. I'm hoping that will kind of help uh, not reignite my stitching bug, because I don't think I've really fully lost it. But since January, since my time was so consuming and everything, like just to kind of just touch things that I haven't touched in a while, just get excited about different things as I go forward. So that's really going to be my only plans. And the only thing I would be saying I'm going to try to do is I probably will try to finish the village, not the village, but the house in the Creepy Village, And I'm probably going to work on trying to finish up a row in Cinderella just to keep that project moving, and towards my goals of finishing that this year. But otherwise, let's see where April takes me. Come along for the ride with that. Um, Now let's talk about things that I purchased. I have not purchased anything physically in hand as it relates to patterns, but I did buy two things that will be coming in soon. I have purchased the Ever After box from Forbidden Fiber Co. That was a pre-order that should be coming in May. So I didn't do an unboxing for Princess Bride, but keep an eye out. All being well, I'll do an unboxing for Ever After. And then, of course, I signed up for the Aquarium SAL from Lola Crow Cross Stitch, which I mentioned earlier when I was talking about greenhouse. So those are my two pattern purchases that I made for during the month of March. I also realized that I never showed you my fabric that I received from Color and Cotton for in February. So I am in the neutrals of Color and Cotton's fabric of the month, and this was February's color that I never showed you, and this is called Hay Bale in mediums, 36 count. I'm going to keep this up for a while, build up a 36 count stash, and then I'll probably cancel this because I do have a lot of fabric in my stash. I'm not starting new enough projects to keep up with that. And I'm really trying to limit my space. Like, this is how much space I have to hold fabric. And once it's full, it's full. And I'm pretty full at this point. So I'm going to continue getting some 36s, and then I'm going to stop. And then until I kind of spin down my stash, so to speak, and create more space for it. But that's the fabric of the month. The other thing that so just a couple more things in terms of purchases. For those of you who were coming along with the saga, you may recall that my Mulan bag from Jasmine's Customs Bags was eaten by the U.S. Postal System. And so this is how it arrived to me with all of the tears and everything. And, I thought, could I fix this? Do I have enough skills? It really isn't. Like, it's not only just cleaning up the fabric. It's, the zippers are broken and everything. So I did not feel like I could save this fabric. So I contacted Jen over at Jasmine's Custom Bags, and she very graciously made me a new one. I paid for it. No one lost anything. There's no loss in terms of money other than I just repurchased the bag. And so here it is, my brand spanking new bag. It does a little difference, it's a different fabric and different zippers. That was the one thing I was really sad about, was because I had this one had that fun, like, rainbow kind of chromy metallic one, but that's okay. Still has the little, so I'm really happy. And Thai Dragon lives in this bag when I'm not stitching on them. Right, and so that is the end of the project bag saga. I'm really very happy. Everything is well and done. So we are moving forward, and I would probably recommend, if you are in a place in the United States that's having problems with its mail. I don't know if the Houston facility is the only one that's having this issues. Pay the extra money and get it tracked. I think it's worth it because I think there is just a little bit more of a handled care when it's tracked in general. So, all right, last but not least, in terms of purchases, this is a little bit stitchy adjacent, if you will. Follow along with me. So I do have those little mini backpacks from Loungefly, right? I think a lot of us use those backpacks. They're cute. They're, for the most part, convenient. They're not full-on backpacks, so they go carry everything that you need. But for a lot of times, they're pretty convenient, and you can carry them. And so when my sister-in-law had purchased one for Retzko, and a Gretsuko bag for me, because I am a Retzko fan, I feel like that she is an embodiment of who I am, right? Like, on the outside, I'm a little cutesy, maybe. I don't know. I'm a little too old to be saying that I'm cute. But, she works in an accounting department. She's like very straight-facing, very, type of thing. But behind the scenes, she rages, right? And I think that that's kind of how I am, right? And I felt seen with Retzko. So she had bought me this bag, which was an excellent gift. Very obviously individualized, personalized for me. The problem was I already owned one. And so she graciously gave me the gift receipt so that I could replace it, so I didn't have two Retzko bags. There's no reason to have two Retzko bags. And so I ended up finally shopping for the replacement bag. And as I was shopping along, y'all, this is what I replaced it with. Can you see? Can you see why? So this is, obviously, it says Home for the Dark Side. That's the Death Star. It's a Star Wars bag. But let me get a little closer. It's a cross stitch bag. Now this is obviously not really cross stitch. This is machine done. But you can see that it is. Oh, it's not focusing. It wants to focus on me, not the bag. Let's see if I can get out of the frame. There you go. You can see that it is stitched. The Death Star isn't. The fighters are not either. They are embroidered on. But isn't this awesome? And then on the back it is as well. So this is my replacement bag for Retzko. It is now officially my travel Stitchy Retreat bag. So if you're going to be at a retreat that I'm going to be attending this year, you're going to see this in real life person. It is available on Loungefly. I think it's Loungefly. Maybe Box Lunch. Maybe Box Lunch that it's available on. If you are a Star Wars fan and want to have a Stitchy bag as well. I'm pretty sure it's Box Lunch. If check in the notes below for where you can purchase this if you are interested in it. And if you are wondering what retreats are you going to be at, Jessie, I'm going to be in Stitching Sirens in July. That's the one hosted by Under the Sea Fabrics in San Antonio, Texas. And then I will also be in September going to Stitching in the Wild Weekend 1, hosted by Grand Stitchery in Montgomery, Alabama. So that's where I'm going to be. We will be spending a few days after the retreat in Montgomery. We'll be leaving, I think, on Wednesdays when we're leaving. So if you come in early for weekend 2, and you're like, Jessie, before you head out, we're driving. So it's like, before you head out, we really want to see the bag. Drop me a note. Let me know. Anyways, all right. That's pretty much, honestly, I lost like 22 minutes. So, and this is now out of 10. So I went through this super duper fast in terms of what got cut out. But that's okay. You know what? It's fine. April Fool's, I guess, to me. Well, with that, it's April in the Northern Hemisphere. It is becoming springtime for us. Allergies all the wild. And so, with that, this is going to be the joke that I leave with you. Why do skeletons not go on spring break? They have no body to go with. Shame. Those introverted skeletons really just need to go out there and make some friends, I think. Thanks so much for spending your time with me. I hope that wherever you are having a stitchy good time. And I'll see you next month. Take care. Bye-bye.